All right. Episode 2. We're back at it today. Continuing where we left off from last week. Today we brought on Toni, who runs our web development team, and she's been here for over 8 years. And we go back to the early days of 2015.
Yeah, 2015.
Wow, Toni, it's a long time. We've had a long run at this, huh?
It's been a minute. It's so funny because sometimes I feel like 8 years went by in a flash, and then sometimes I'm like, wow, like it's taken us a long time to get here, but then it's just weird how time works.
Time is an interesting thing. You know, so Toni, you came to us because your mom was walking the dog one afternoon. We would
backstory.
Toni and Toni's family and my wife and I, we lived on the same block, 4 houses, 5 houses away, depending on how you count them. You know, we had met, you know, through some parties in backyards, but we didn't really know each other. And you know, as we were talking about last week, Wingman was starting to grow, and we needed a little more help. And I saw Toni's mom one day walking the dogs when it was a tough day at working from home, and I said to her, "What does your daughter do for work? You know, does she have any interest in, you know, maybe talking to me about a job?" And a couple days later, I got a text from Toni, and she said, "You know, let me know when you want to meet." And we had a very brief interview. It was more of a conversation of like how I needed help and how, you know, but we didn't really think we were going to get much bigger, and we wanted to work from home and never really wanted to have an office or staff, but needed a couple people just to help get the job done.
Yeah. So I remember my mom had come in and she was like, "Hey, I saw Tom from down the street." And I was like, "Okay, what's going on?" And she was like, "He wants to know if you want to come in for an interview. He owns like a marketing agency or something." And I was like,
did she even know what a marketing
No,
agency
she had no
was?
idea what was going on.
Did she
just came in with like poop bags and was like, the guy from down the street wants to know if you want a job. I was like, all right. So, you know, I went and I sat down at what I didn't know was going to be my office.
Yeah, the
dining room table. And I remember you saying we had this whole conversation about, you know, that you just needed help kind of just populating websites. And I remember asking you, you know, do you have any plans for growth? Like, are you going to be, you know, buying a building, or is this kind of just going to be like an in-house, like, this is never going to get much bigger kind of thing? And you were like, I'm not interested in getting bigger, and I don't want to do that. That's just not for me. And then here we are 8.5 years later with 2 buildings, 20 employees.
Yep.
A full development team.
Yep.
Like, it's insane to me. But I mean, everything happens for a reason.
We were at a conference this week. Chelsea and I were at a conference early this weekend. While we were there, we were talking about Building 3. So she's already got some plans for Building 3. So we'll see what happens. But
well, I'm excited for Building 3.
You know, I think it's just been crazy. Like I go back to those days and I say, like, when we were sitting at the dining room table, we thought it was
eating freezer cookies.
Eating freezer cookies. And you know, I look back, like, that was working from home before working from home was cool.
Yeah.
Like, at the time, you wanted to work in an office because you're like, you know, it's an office.
Because you know what? Like, when you're 24 years old and you're coming out of college and your, like, whole college career, or even when you're in high school, is like, you'll be successful when you finally work in an office. So, like...
So now you get this job and you're like, I got to work from someone's house.
Yeah, no,
but
it wasn't weird. It wasn't bad, though. It was just interesting. And then I had your cat come and hang out with me every day.
Oh, yeah. He liked you.
Oh, yeah.
He liked you till
he no longer likes me.
He liked you till he didn't like you. But
yeah.
Also, you had the shortest commute. You still.
I know.
You never had a gas bill for work.
I didn't. There was actually one time when it was pouring out, and I did drive my car up the street, and you were like, "Did you just drive your car up the street?" And I was like, "It's raining."
I remember at the beginning, some of the neighbors didn't know that you worked for us.
So they just saw me with my school bag walking to the corner at 24 years old. And they're like, wow, where's she going?
I remember one time telling Val that you started working for me because I think she saw you back and forth. And she was like, so instead of making it weird, I just told her. I said, hey, Val, Tone works for me now.
Just in case you see her walking past your house 2 times a day.
And then I figured that Val would kind of help spread the news to the neighborhood for us. Those were the days, though. We ate freezer cookies, which was this cookie my wife bought. And
They're just like the run-of-the-mill grocery store, like sugar cookies with the royal icing or something on the top. And Cindy was like, well, I don't, if I keep them out on the counter, they don't stay as fresh and I don't eat them as quickly. Like, so I put them in the freezer so I can save them. So I started calling them freezer cookies. And like every Friday we would have like a freezer cookie. And it was great because she would be like, you want a freezer cookie? It's freezer cookie time. Oh my gosh, remember we used to do karaoke in your kitchen?
What about the Friday morning?
Friday karaoke morning. We would do we would sing, what was it? Rapper's Delight.
Rapper's Delight every Friday morning.
Friday.
That would get you, I think we should redo, I think we should start that again. Like every new employee should have to sing it.
Like I think boogie, Sam, jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. That's it.
Now what you hear is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat.
And me, the groove, and my friend.
Your mom also knows all the words on that song.
My mom loves that song.
I think she loved the fact that we used to do that.
I think I would be disowned if it wasn't played at my wedding.
Lori.
I think my mom would disown me.
Lori, I expect to see you on the dance floor for the Rapper's Delight.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. She wouldn't miss it.
That's awesome. So, at the time we thought like we were conquering the world. But like when you look back and it was just you, me, and we had a few other part-time employees, like it was pretty easy.
It was so easy. I look back at it now and I'm like, I thought it was so hard back then. I thought it was the most difficult thing in the world, especially because I didn't know anything about websites. Like before I started with you, I had no idea what websites were, like, or not what they were, but how they functioned, how they work. Like I just thought they just got up on the internet and that's websites. Like I never knew the whole process of websites. So.
Yep. Well, we had to put a process in place.
Yeah.
And again, that's where I think the heart and the grit of it all comes in. And, the everyday being unique. You never have two, like in our world, like a lot of people, will ask me about my job and I'll say, we never have the same day twice.
No, we don't. Ever.
Like in your whole team. Now, some of our employees at this point in time do have the same job every day. Kristen managing Manasquan, managing the phones, managing, the office. Her job is very similar day in, day out. You look at the social team and the digital team, their days are very similar. They're writing for different clients, but like when you look at the web world, it's never the same.
No.
Your team never has the same day. You could never say, all right, we're going to do this again tomorrow. Or,
no.
Here's how to get better from yesterday. Because every day is unique based on the needs of the business, based on technology. Technology fails. There are things that are outside of our control when you look at like a malware company and that didn't do an update, or a virus that's trying to get through, or when you look at some of that stuff, it's just so unique and every day is so different for you guys.
Yeah, and I think that I had to learn very, very early on how to be able to think on my feet. Mm-hmm. Like how to be able to be as proactive as possible, but also as reactive as possible. Because again, I never knew what was coming in because all of my information comes from account managers. So I don't know what's coming in or if a site has broken or if there's malware until I'm either notified or I get something from one of our third parties or something saying like, hey, listen, like this needs attention. So it's like every day I have to constantly pivot and change and move. And especially with our work schedule too, because we never know, like there could be 1 week where it's, we like this week alone, I think we launched like 5 sites. Mm-hmm. So it's like on weeks like this, it's like you have to constantly be able to pivot and manage and just kind of go with the flow.
And the priorities have to change quick. Like,
yes.
So you could make a to-do list, and you know what? I make a to-do list still to this day. I make a to-do list every night before I go home, and that's one of my goals. Before I leave our office, I make a to-do list for the next day.
That's what I do. Yep.
Because so that when you start working in the morning, you're ready to roll.
Yep. That list gets
changed. It never is the same.
Can I say it?
Yeah.
It's shot to shit. At like, I start at 7 o'clock in the morning. By 7:45, that list is shot to shit. And I'm like, all right, we're just flying by the seam of our pants today.
And you got to just move. You got to.
That's it.
What was important at 7 might not be important at 7:30. And again, that might at 2 o'clock that might be important
exactly,
again.
Exactly. At 2 o'clock, all of a sudden that 7:30 urgent thing is now important. That's it.
I said to a few of the newer employees, I said, like, you have to be able to adaptability and move on the fly. And, I can't say that enough because, again, somebody's site goes down for whatever reason. If it's our fault, if it's their fault, if they didn't pay their renewal for GoDaddy, if there's malware, if whatever the case may be, that site has to get back up.
Yeah.
And if
so
it's
everything else
e-commerce,
has to stop.
And if it's e-commerce, it's even got to go back up faster.
Yeah.
So, as much as we might have on our list, get this done today, well, that's not urgent and we're not launching it today. That now just becomes a next day priority because we have something down. And again, I think when you think about one thing that I'm really proud of for your team as well as all the other people that work for me is the customer service. So I don't want sites down. I don't want, I talked to a vendor the other, I talked to a client today who was using another vendor, and he said, like, I asked this 3 times for the people. Like, I never want us to be asked more than once if somebody wants a change or they want to make an addition to the site. I want them to tell us. We provide them, what needs to be done to do it, and then a time frame, and then I want us on it. Like, so, like, I don't, when a site's down, like, that's a code red.
Yeah. And I think that what I find the most applaudable for us is that we started so small, and we're not a huge business we're not a huge corporation, but we're bigger than we were. And I think that the focal point of our business has always remained the same, which is that our customers are always first. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that even though we've grown and we're taking on different projects, we've grown in different spaces as well, that we've always kept true to that I can't tell you how much, at least for my team, how much my colleagues are always like, well, I actually care about this.
Yeah.
Like, I care about this customer, and I care about this site, and I care about making it perfect, and I care. That's something that we stress, and that's something that we've never lost since day one, which I find super important.
I think that's the best thing. And, it's integrity. It's our names. It's our work. It's very easy to just say, screw it, don't worry about them. We'll win now on the next job. We'll take care of the next job. But it's who we are as people. It's who we are as individually and collectively. Who we are as wingman. I always say, people hire. They call me because they were referred to us because we did nice work for someone they know, or they met us through a networking. And again, it's our name on the line. It's not we're not a big we're not just some big company where it's like we just get lost in the numbers.
But to be accountable.
Like, we have to be and again we go to dinner in the towns we work in. So again, I run into people everywhere we are. We were at this conference again in Atlanta, and we were there for a half hour, and someone yells, "Hey, wingman, what's going on?" So the guy, has a business in Manalapan, or Marlboro, and saw us, and within the first half hour we were in Atlanta, Georgia. I got, "Hey, wingman." So that's who we are. That's our integrity. That's our grit in the small business space, and we're never going to lose sight of that. And in other businesses that we're involved in or own, again, we want those same principles. Our playbook is built around customer service, and I think when you look at corporations today, it's very hard to get in touch sometimes with like a Google or a Facebook or places like that, or you go to the grocery store and they have self-checkouts and you have problems and no one takes accountability. Whereas I want our phones manned 8:30 to 5 Monday to Friday, so that if someone has a problem, we also have a tech support line where people can text us or email us if they have an issue after hours, because I want us to be accountable to our clients. That's how we've made our made our name. And again, we're a small business, but I think we're an expanding small business. And again, we do it based on the fact that we care about our customers.
Yeah.
So let's talk about we move out of the house. Cindy, my wife.
Nice little segue.
So my wife, Cindy, she's been always very supportive of the business. So we took our freezer.
She's the real OG.
We took our freezer cookies and moved on to Brielle. We picked up, a small office condo from a guy who's become a great friend of the business, but a friend of mine personally. John Flynn was an attorney. He was looking to slow down, and he wanted a place that he could still work at, but he didn't want to own the building and the real estate. So, I came in, met him, and we made a deal, and we worked together. He rented back from us while we had taken over the space, and he was a great person to have in our corner. A couple of times we had to use him for some issues with people not doing the right thing by us. So and he became he loved having us there because he could hear all the talk about technology, and as he was, in a law, career and profession, so it wasn't as fun for him. But so he had fun while we were there. We worked there, and I remember walking in the first day and saying to you, Toni, I don't know what we're going to do with all this space, but we got it. So we had this, 5 offices and a conference room, right?
Yeah, and then 2, we had a conference room. You had like a waiting area that you turned into your office.
Yep. Well, that's only when we ran out of space. At the beginning, remember, when we first moved in, I took that big office. The
big office, yeah.
Which then became the social room down in later.
Towards the end, we had 1, 2, 3... Wait, what?
We had the John's office, Jay's office.
John, Jay.
Mike.
The conference room, Mike.
Yours.
Mine.
The social room, and then
we were putting like 2-3 people in an office at that point because it was just getting crazy.
But at the early days, it was just us and then John and Jay.
But you know what I think that it did? I think that being in such a small space together allowed us to... It wasn't like you just came to work.
Yeah.
Like... That's the thing. It wasn't like you just came to work, you clocked in, and then you clocked out.
We never had a clock system.
No, but I meant figuratively. There wasn't like a clock in, clock out, like you just put your head down and do your work kind of thing. Like, it was interesting. And, I mean, there were no rules. I don't want to say there were no rules.
There were no rules.
There were no rules. There wasn't like an official HR. There wasn't.
In 2023, we really don't have
no,
rules.
but we have a handbook now.
We have a handbook and we have an HR department.
We have a handbook now. But I mean that, like, everyone was free to, like, kind of be themselves. And it was a great way to establish, like, camaraderie because you really got to know what made everybody tick. Like, you got to know everybody at, like, such a personal level and know about their friends and their dogs and their parents and their significant others and what bar they were going to this weekend. And you ended up going to the bar with them that weekend. Like, it was...
We did a lot of stuff together.
We did. We did a lot of things that I wouldn't say was bonding in the moment, but now I look back at it, I'm like, that was total bonding moments. Like...
But I think that also helped everybody have each other's back too, because again, you always wanted to make, I think the pandemic didn't help this, but I think we're getting back to it now. Is like when you just get an email, it could be like annoying, like a coworker sends you an email and it could become annoying. But like when you think about like, having lunch with them and that they're a good person, maybe the email just didn't come across the right way. It's easier when you have a relationship. To
like when you can put like a face and a story and a human element behind that email, it makes it a lot easier than to just be like, you suck.
Yep. We're not talking about anybody specifically right this second, but if we do, we'll mention your name later.
Yes, absolutely. I'll drop a name real quick.
I got a couple.
For you.
So, so when we get to Brielle with just the two of us plus these 2 attorneys, then we decided in February of the following year. So we were there 6 months, 7 months to hire Chelsea.
Yeah.
That was
and Sea Dog came in.
That was an interesting time. Like, again, we were working from the house, not going to get bigger. Now we own an office space that we are working in, and then it was then we had a person or 2 that came in that didn't last. But I always thought that one thing we were having trouble with at that point is keeping up with the bottleneck was with me. The bottleneck was me getting work to you and to to the web team to get things done and edits and updates.
You were a one-man band, so at the time you were answering phones. You were going to all of the client meetings, like, all on your own.
And then writing up the
notes. And then sending them to me. And then I would handle doing whatever I could, send whatever I could out to our development team and try to do whether it was a design or a web work or whatever. But then
that's when we started to make the move to like doing more work, versus like, all right, we're going to be this small operation sitting at the kitchen table eating the freezer cookies.
Yeah.
So now we're in Brielle,
and now you have like an overhead, so you have to make more money. So you have to
bring in more jobs.
You have to bring in more jobs. So I mean, I think.
But at the same time, the customers wanted it. Like it wasn't like we weren't at like. Knock on wood, like at the time, and still to this day, like we do very little outbound advertising. A lot of our work comes into us through referrals and repeat business and happy clients. But at the time, like people were like, can I give you a name out? Can I refer you to my friend? Because people didn't have a good people that they could trust and rely on. And again, we were like, yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, especially in this area, there wasn't anybody building custom websites.
No.
Everybody else was building
Wix,
WordPress,
some simple WordPress,
Squarespace. So a lot of people, were frustrated in that process.
Yeah.
So because while they are beneficial, there are a lot of limitations to using those platforms. And I think we were the only people in the area who were able to do custom web, and especially CRMs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we were.
That's like that's like those those are difficult things to program. Like, they're not simple. I think sometimes people are like, oh, yeah, I just want a simple CRM or a simple.
There's no such thing.
There's no such thing.
There's no such thing.
They're very hard, and they need to be tested.
Well, they also they always say they want a simple CRM, and then they're like, oh, wait, you could do that?
Can you
Oh, wait, you could do this?
Yeah, right.
Oh, wait a minute, you can do a scheduler? Oh, wait, you can do, all of this stuff. You can do invoicing and bill pay and all of this stuff. Like, I didn't know that was possible. And then, a small simple CRM turns into a friggin' mammoth-sized.
And what about
system.
we got there was some times where we got like the shoebox of information of people with their invoicing system, and then they were like, oh yeah, we want to put this into the system.
Oh yeah.
Oh, can you scan all these?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No.
So I think that was a turning point. Like, when I looked at the list and I said, we got to make an investment to hire somebody that can come in and help us, and help us. And I think at the time, like, I remember at the time, when I was hiring Chelsea, I said, well, I got to make X amount more a week, because I got to make sure she gets paid, and I got to make sure that we can keep her, because this is going to help us long term. And again, her job is to come in and kind of operationalize us and help us, help get stuff from my list of notes, to get it to you, to the development team, help answer some of the offloading the calls. And I remember at the beginning, people were so like, I'll just wait for Tom. I'll wait for Tom. He'll call me back.
Yeah.
And she was like, listen, I sit next to Tom. I'm going to see Tom in about 10 minutes. Give me the information. And as time went on, we were talking about this while we were away, when we had the grand opening in Belmar, she said, a lot of faces from over the years. And, at the time when they first started talking to her, they didn't want to talk to her. But as time went on and she gave them the same rapport and built trust with the customer, they started to talk to her, get the messages. And again, a lot of times we were able to siphon me out of the whole process, because she was able to go right to you, or right to the development team, or right to a designer to pass the work, and we got it done faster. And then I think people started to see that efficiency. They liked doing business with us, but they also saw that we were, stretched, and now we had an extra set of hands to help us.
And I think that hiring Sea-Dog was really, I always call her Sea-Dog.
I don't know that anyone else besides Toni calls Chelsea Sea-Dog, but
I didn't say anybody else did. I just say I
you've done it. You've done it for 8 years. So.
I don't know where it started. I just maybe woke up one day and just said, "Today's the day." It's Sea-Dog.
Sea-Dog.
Anyways, but I think that hiring Chelsea at that point in time probably was a catalyst for everything that kind of followed after, like a domino effect, because doing that started that process that we super badly needed, and compartmentalizing. Yeah. Because you couldn't be everything to everyone. You're only human. And I think that started our growth in being able, you learning to delegate, and you having to delegate in order to succeed, and then hiring people in order to do that work. And I think that's what happened. I think that was really the catalyst, and that was the first domino that fell. And then from there, it was, you realized that you could put your trust in other people to run your company, or help to run your company, and we never looked back.
Yeah, I would totally 1,000% agree with you. You and Chelsea coming in, and I think one good thing about the early days of that was, like, there were days like we sat in the conference room and we just, all three of us worked in the conference room together. Like, it wasn't like, so it was like we were learning on the fly with how to make some process improvements, how to do some things together, so that, we just learned it together. And I think one great thing about Chelsea, she said, look, Tom, we have to think about the employees. And I always look to and thank Chelsea, because when we put together an HR plan, we put together a handbook, we put together a retirement planning, we put together health benefits. All those things, when you're running a business and you're helping the customer and you're trying to be everything to the customer and you're trying to make them succeed, you don't look to help yourself. Like, so I think she came in and said, look, if we're going to have employees, you're going to need to change and have all these things in place, because otherwise we're not going to be able to get top talent employee.
Yeah.
And I think that, when I look back to the early days of, when I started, it was just like, again, we're going to work at the kitchen table. We're never going to do anything more. And then as we went into Brielle, and as that, and I think I like that analogy of the first domino, because that kind of started us to moving. And then, not 4 months later did we, start Shore Luxury Limos, which, I don't know that we were at the time looking back. People would probably say, "Were you crazy?"
Yes.
But in the moment, it didn't seem wrong. It was like supposed to be. But then you look at that and you say, "Wow, that year was a big year." Like 2016. So February, we do it back to 15. You got you had the building in June. You and I move in to start working in Brielle. And then February we bring on Chelsea, and by May, June, we have Mike and Trolley Luxury Limos now under our umbrella of products. And now it's not just websites. Now we're buying cars. We're building a website for the car service, and and it wasn't too much. It wasn't that far after that the first trolley came.
Yeah.
The first trolley came in 17. So 17 was the year of where it really started to get a little wild. So we got through 16.
It got wacky for a minute.
We got through 16, and it was just you, me, and Chelsea at the end of the year, and Mike and Shore Luxury Limos. And then 17 happened, and we brought on more employees. We started expanding. We started getting into social media and social media management and pay-per-click advertising. At the beginning, we were more just a web and a little bit of design shop. We did our pamphlets, brochure designs, but we weren't really doing a ton of that. We were only helping existing customers that were web customers. But then web customers started saying to us, "Hey, what about social media?" And that's when you wrote our first posts.
I did for about, I want to say like 2 or 3 months or something.
I was going to say 3 months is what I remember.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 months, and you were like, "Hey," because I always liked writing, and you were like, "Hey, like, would you mind writing some social for some clients while we try to figure out where we want to take this?" And I was like, "Sure." So I would take like 1 day a week out of my web schedule and write for about 6 to 8 clients, like 3 times a week. I'd, provide them with all of the content and submit it for approval. And this is before Hootsuite was even a thought in anyone's mind, like where you can automatically schedule the posts once they're approved. You don't have to worry about it. I don't even think Hootsuite was even around back then.
No, I don't think so.
And so you'd have to manually like log in and out of everybody's Facebook or Instagram or whatever and physically post everybody's stuff. And it was a lot. And then finally, once we realized that more people wanted to sign on, you were like, "All right, we gotta expand. I gotta expand. I gotta find somebody who can actually write and dedicate like their whole week to it."
And that's how our business continues to grow, and even to this moment, like
at some point, somebody has been a test dummy for something.
Yeah, people say to us, "Can you help us with this? Can you help us with that?" And I never want to turn a customer down, and but at the same time, I always want to make sure we do it right. Like, and as we've grown, that's even more I become more of a stickler to that. That if we're going to do it, our name's on it. I don't want the egg on our face. I don't want it on your face. I don't want it on my own face. I don't want it on any of our account managers' face. I am very, now I'm a stickler to that. Like, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. But at the time, people just wanted these new services. So now it's time to, hire a new person that's going to be dedicated to helping us with social media. And I think that's how the business continues to grow. And I think, when you think about the hard days of starting a business, now it's an economic formula. We use, we've modified. And again, down the road, we'll have talk about Dave coming on board for us. But, everything that Chelsea and I look at now is based on an economic analysis. We put in what we think the revenue is going to be, what our expenses are, what the payback is to the company, and if it makes sense, we do it. If it doesn't make sense, we say no. Like you look at where we are in Belmar now. This was an economic formula we figured out, and now again when we talked briefly about a location 3. it's going to go back to that economic formula based on these results. And again, we're in Belmar 2.5 months, right? 2.5, 3 months. Came in August, right?
I think
mid-August.
maybe end of August, because I think my team started coming in, I think, after Labor Day.
So we're in Belmar 2 months. We've already secured a number of new customers. The township is working with us on a big project for their lamppost, which is going to be awesome for their Veterans Day lamppost. We're going to be doing, for heroes and veterans, we're going to be putting them up on the lamppost in town. An organization came in yesterday that's looking for some help. We've helped a couple of customers on the website already. So, within a very short amount of time, we're in Belmar. We have 25-star Google reviews already at this location. At our other location, we have over 145-star Google reviews. So again, we want to take the same playbook and work it. But I think that, and that's part of like the hustle of being an entrepreneur. It's like, you look at it some days, I'm sure that there's friends of mine, family members of mine that are like, what is he doing? But at the same time, I look at it and say, it's a great team. We have, just about 20 full-time employees at this point in time. We've grown from Toni and I sitting at, my kitchen table, dining room table, depending on what day it was, and if we were doing karaoke that morning. But to building, a team, and I don't think I look at it and we're not stopping. So, this 20 is going to be 40, and and we go from there. I mean, and I just look at that and say it all started though, and each thing kind of was a progression on, what we did the day before and what we did the week before, and I think when you look at Brielle and as a whole, Brielle filled up pretty fast. I mean, when you think about what are we going to do with all this extra space?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we were tripling up at one point.
Yeah.
I think that big office, there was 3 people in that office at one point. So
and then we had the interns working with Chelsea and I in that front.
Yes,
that was like a guest
waiting
area.
Waiting area. It was like a sunroom.
It was a great office, though.
It was it was a super fun office. I mean, there was a lot of great memories there. I think, isn't that where Fireball Friday started?
Fireball Friday started there.
Fireball Friday started.
Where we every Friday before you went home, if you wanted it or not, you took a Fireball shot. We always had Fireball in our freezer. I actually have a couple of the individual airplane bottles. So if you want to have a Fireball Friday today, it is Friday. We can take one today. I don't know.
Airplane bottle.
I don't know if Andrew's going to be up for that, but we could check with the producer later and see if he wants one.
All right. Producer Andrew, do you want one?
He's
on the fence.
I feel like we could talk him into one.
He's on the fence.
We'll
get him over to the dark side.
And as Brielle started to get very busy to 2 to 3 offices, we were like, I guess we need another spot now.
Yeah, and that's where we found ourselves in Squan.
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy about that building where we're currently in Manasquan is I passed it every day to come to Brielle, on the way in and the way out.
Wasn't much to look at. It
wasn't much to look at, and I remember the first day I
bones.
found it, I was like, I never saw this building before. Meanwhile, I drove past it for two to 2.5 years. Well, I mean, we ended up buying it at the end of 17, so and we said we started in Brielle in the mid 15. So I drove past that building to work every day and home from work every day, and I never noticed the building. Now, so when I found it, I was like, wow, I think this is good. But boy, did it need a lot of work. Saying that it had good bones is a compliment to the building.
Well, I mean, she got us through some stuff.
I mean, I look at it, I look back at that now and say, damn, I just want to make sure that when we go into future places, we don't have to go through that renovation again. That was a tough 6 months. That was like real hard. When you're a small business, you're working, you have your team working in one building that you're paying for while you're renovating and have to pay for another building. And, I'm not the guy who's got, venture capitalists behind us. This is, we do it on our own. We do it through, saving and buying and trying not to go over our heads. So, again, at that point in time, if I look back, I probably went a little overboard on what I could have done, but we got through it.
We got through it,
and everybody got paid, and everybody's happy, and everybody likes us. So it worked. It was a tricky 6 months. We started it right at Christmas. We had closed I think the day or two before Christmas of 17, and we moved in on May 1st or May 2nd of 18. So
Yeah.
it wasn't ready for us to move into. No, and Jill.
But again, that's kind of like the wingman way, where you just, even if you're not ready, you're just gonna go do it.
I think that's the entrepreneurial, way of just getting it done. I remember Jill didn't have a top to her, the front area didn't have the granite.
Oh, that's right. There was
no granite tops in for probably a couple weeks. I remember the first morning we walked into the place, I said, oh, wow, we're going to start working here today. And, we had an employee or somebody that interviewed us that looked at it and was like, you guys work here? I remember and I was like, oh, yeah. Well, at the time I looked at it, I looked at her like she was weird. And, after, as time has gone on, it was on us.
Yeah. Well, what's really funny is so many people would come in, especially clients would come in, they'd see, because, okay, we did the inside of the building first because we needed to work there. You don't work outside, so we had to do the inside first. So all of our clients would come in and they'd be, now being like this was their first time there, it was a new client, and they'd walk in and they'd be like, oh, I didn't expect it to look like this inside. And we would crack up because the outside just
I didn't
looked
always
so
crack up.
sad.
I never always.
I always thought it was
You probably
funny.
thought it was funny, but I didn't always think it was that funny when people would say that because again, I have such pride in our team and our work and our everything we have. And at the time, I could see past it because once you walked in the doors, everything was renovated.
Exactly. Everything was legit.
Everything was legit. And, again, we didn't have the countertop for a couple of weeks, but that was just because of back order. But, overall, we had this great conference room. And, once you walked into that conference room, people loved it. You had the nice granite.
They always had to talk about the table.
The granite table.
Everyone always talked about the table. They're like, how did you get this table in here? And we're like, well, it's not going anywhere either.
3 pieces is how we got the Manasquan table in there. I'm glad when we got Belmar, we just went with a table like this.
Like a normal people
table.
table?
Like a normal person table.
Yeah.
This was, we buy our furniture from a company in Connecticut for all of our office stuff. We've been using them since the days of Manasquan. And, it's always funny. Chelsea and I will rent a U-Haul and we'll drive to Connecticut one day to pick it up. And, we get everything in the same day and we never go back. So, the guys in Connecticut are awesome. It's 3 hours away. They always take good care of us. So, we now have an allegiance to them, and they asked me when they said, "Oh, when are you opening the next building?" Because we want to get you guys furniture.
All right.
The sign guy, same thing. Now he's waiting for us for number 3. But the conference room was always beautiful. Now, and I always wanted our offices, and the downstairs was such a great area.
Oh my God, the downstairs. So the upstairs is what we use for mostly administrative and sales and Shore Luxury Limo's offices up there. But downstairs was where the party was at.
Yeah.
Downstairs was the best. It was a giant open area, and then we had a few offices kind of set around, and it was so nice because we were able to just listen. It was because we had creative downstairs. Mm-hmm. We had social and we had web and we had photography. And it was so great because you had all of these creative people in one space and vibe off each other all day. Mm-hmm. And we would listen to music. There was a foosball table downstairs, and we would play foosball every once in a while. Random dance parties, and just being able to get up and just go talk to somebody and walk into their office and just
and get it done.
Just get it done. But it was such a collaborative space that we all talk about how much we loved working down. We would just call it the basement. It wasn't a basement, but we would call it the basement.
Yep, and there was a conference room there.
Yeah.
Then we had massage.
Oh my gosh, we had massages.
Massages on Fridays.
Yeah, we had massages on Fridays.
That was
a real great perk.
That was a fun thing to do for
Where's
the team.
Allie?
I don't know. I haven't seen Allie since the pandemic.
Since the pandemic.
But we did that for a couple months, didn't it?
We did that for a long time.
Started out, I said, let's try it for one time. Everybody seemed to like it. Then I said, oh.
And we had a sign-up sheet.
Yeah, we ultimately had a sign-up sheet. And was funny as I remember the company that we hired. I said, let's try it for a month, and if they like it, we'll reevaluate in a month. And then a month became 2 months, and then I said, let's do it to the end of the year. And we ended up doing it probably for 6 months, and then we had COVID. So that's and the only reason we stopped doing it was because of COVID.
It was the best. we had our sign up sheet by Thursday. We had to have like our name on the line for which time, and then she would just turn off the lights in the room, and I mean, we were behind closed doors.
Behind closed doors.
Nobody was getting naked inside.
Our conference room was our downstairs conference room was used for this. There's nothing weird.
Nothing weird. Wait, what would be weird was that you would be getting your massage, but you would also be emailing at the same time, and Jill would be like, "Can you just enjoy your massage?"
I do enjoy the massage. I hate the fact when you after that massage you now that much further behind. But
yes. I mean, I get it, but we'd crack up because you'd be emailing while you're taking.
It would take
me
me 5 to 10 minutes to kind of let go, and then I would slow it down, and then I'd be back at it.
Eventually, take a little snooze, and then wake up.
Still to this day, I still have that problem. It's really kind of with anything, but I'm trying my best.
I feel you. I feel like I also am the same way though, but I feel like it's because of conditioning myself to like not leave an email
undone. Yep.
Like that's just I conditioned myself with how busy you are. There's a tendency to overlook things, and there is a tendency to forget about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to make sure that like every email is answered, and I try to answer as fast as I possibly can, so it doesn't get forgotten about and disappear.
We're in the same boat on that one.
Yeah,
and
I
again,
get you.
I think,
but during massage, don't come for me. Mm-mm.
I think that, having Nicole, Kevin, and Dave to help with the account management has made my email life a little bit better because I don't have as many people hitting me up, but now we have other businesses and other things to manage and run. So, it's kind of a trade-off. You leave some off and you add new ones. So, Tone, I really appreciate you coming in today. I think this was awesome. I think about I go back to the days of working at Arnie's, and it's just to where we are. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of the team. I'm so proud of everything we've done, and I look forward to more. Next week we'll talk about the mayhem of having 2 buildings and acquiring a business, and going deeper dive into, getting Shore running and then getting really, the setup of building Manasquan, because I think when you look at my hair, it became grayer during that time. if we go back to looking at some pictures back from before Manasquan
you were
build,
just slightly salt and pepper.
I was salt and pepper, but more on the pepper side.
Yeah.
Now
more
I'm
pepper.
salt and pepper, more on the salt side.
Yeah.
And I don't think without Hair Club for Men or something like that, I don't think it's gonna.
I think
come
it
back.
suits you.
I think it does too. I
think it suits you.
I kind of dig it. I'm not mad about
Honestly,
that.
you make me want to go a little gray.
Do it.
No, I have a wedding to go to.
I mean, after your wedding, you could let it go.
You're right.
Are you going to be using the transportation company for your wedding?
I am.
All
Shout
right.
out to Shibu Trolley.
Are you getting a trolley?
I'm getting a trolley.
Damn straight, sister. Great. Who would have thought we'd have 6 trolleys when you think about
that blows my mind.
Us
and
working from
what's
home.
funny is that they came so quickly.
They came during that hell time of building Manasquan is when we first got the first trolley.
But it felt like after that it was you had
next.
drummed so much business from it. People wanted them. They saw them on the street. They were like, "Oh gosh, we need these for our weddings, especially in this area when weddings are so popular in the Shore area." You were like, "All right, well, we need more trolleys." And after that, it was just like I feel like I lost count of the trolleys because you'd be like, "Oh yeah, we're on trolley number 4," and I'd be like, "I thought we only had 2," and you were like, "Oh well, I ordered 3, but then I realized I needed 4."
We have 6 now.
And bananas.
We have 6 trolleys now and 2 buses and a Mercedes Sprinter. But Mike was in my office this morning before I came over to Belmar, and he was like, I would like
lucky number 7.
He's like, I'd like to have a conversation and start thinking about what the fleet's gonna look like next year. And it's kind of great. Like I never thought. I remember him saying to me, when we've got number 1, he goes, "Oh, we're gonna have 3," and I looked at him like he was nuts. I was like, 3? I said, "There's no way we're gonna have 3. We have 6, and there's a lot of weekends where we could use 7 and 8. So we're gonna look at what each. Again, it comes back down to that economic formula, but we're gonna look at what each one is doing, how many weddings we have on the board for 24, and start making some decisions. As we go into the the winter months, and it takes the trolley. We buy direct from a trolley builder, so it takes them about 16 weeks to do a trolley. So we have to be ordering by mid-January so that we're ready for the upcoming season. But yeah, that was another. We got I think our first trolley during that whole 2017 mayhem. So I think next week we'll have Chelsea on to kind of tell her story about building the building. And the one great thing is everything's we've
It's okay, it's Friday.
We've
Compartmentalized
a lot of stuff. But one thing that is great is Chelsea kind of runs into all the businesses. So like her job is never the same every day. Like again, hey, I remember the time we said, oh Chelsea on Thursday said, oh we're going to Nashville this weekend for a show, and she's like, okay, cool. All right, I'm just going to make sure I have nothing going on. We're leaving Sunday morning. Okay, but, I think that's helped having somebody that can kind of just move on the fly to, from project to project, if it's, transportation, if it's wingman, if it's a building, again, and she learned it all at an early age. I feel bad for the first general contractor that does work at her house. When she buys a house, I feel bad for that first guy, whoever comes in and starts working. Hopefully it's somebody we can recommend and give them a heads up on it, because she's learned how to work it, how to work the system, how to have two buildings at one time, how to have two buildings and a trolley, coming within the same week to help me kind of, get it done. So, again, I'm thankful for everyone on our team, but, the early guys, Toni and Chelsea, they just kind of made things happen and kind of learned on the fly, and we just did it together.
We sure did.
Sure did.
We sure did.
Can I take you to lunch today?
Please, I'm hungry.
All right, so we're going to wrap up now because Toni's hungry, but I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we'll have you back.
Oh, thanks for having me, and I look forward to our next hour-long chat.
Awesome.